Hi, this is Chrissy Incognito, and welcome to another episode of my show. Now, you might be wondering why I'm incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I cannot otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, thank you for returning. In order to understand more about this episode, please view the previous episode. Happy listening. Hi. So, this is another sort of bridge episode with Ethan. Okay. As you remember from the bridge episode, Ethan 1, we started getting close. We started hanging out, I should say. We weren't really dating because he knew the whole Lance situation, but he had said, if it doesn't work out, I want you to come back to me. And when I was getting ready to board the plane and, a day or two before going to meet Lance, he had said that to me. He had said, I want you to come back to me. I want you to come back. And so he let me go. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, no, you can't go. You have to stay. You got to call all this stuff off. Okay. So after everything goes wrong with the Lance situation, and now I've decided not to have anything to do with Lance. And what was interesting, he thought we were just going to continue the way we were. And I just was amazed by that. And because I wasn't able to articulate it, but basically, the only way he could function in a relationship was if he wasn't physically in a relationship, if he had no proximity to the person. So, your needs are getting met, right? You're having this conversation, you're having this pseudo friendship relationship, and it's safe for you, and you're getting stuff out of it. I'm thinking, I'm going to get nothing out of it because, hello, I wanted a real relationship. So, this distant, you have nothing to offer, isn't going to work. And I just remember at some point Lance had contacted me and had said that. He's like, "Oh, I just thought we would continue the way that we were going." And I was like, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not." I said, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen." And it was only years later that it was working for him because he had companionship with actually investing in it or being accountable for it. And I wanted a real relationship, you know? And that was fine that this didn't work out, but I'm not going to waste my time on it any further. Okay. So when I get back from meeting Lance, there's a big thing of roses in my bedroom. It was from um, Ethan. Now, my parents kind of knew about Ethan, but he wasn't really around much when my parents were around. So at this time, um, my parents were selling my childhood house, and I had to move out to an apartment for the first time. So it was like a blessing that Ethan was there. So we did a lot of things. So he helped me move into the apartment. And the first night, because it wasn't really an apartment. It was like a big Victorian house that the first level was the owner's apartment. The second and third level was my apartment. And then there was like a basement apartment. So um, it really wasn't like an apartment. So because my bedroom was in the attic and it was an older home, I was all creeped out and scared. And so Ethan stayed on the phone with me the entire night. It didn't matter that either one of us were awake or not. He was just like, in case you need me, let's, he said, do you want me to stay on with you all night? And so he did that for the first like 2 or 3 nights. And I was then fine. But he would come and visit me in, my ap my first apartment, and I remember my parents were selling, my childhood house, and I remember us doing our last walkthrough, and I remember, it was with him, and I just did not wanna leave that house. I dream of that house to this day, but anyway, so we would do things. Now he was in this is gonna sound really weird. He was into performing, okay? He did acting, okay? Now you think, like, an ex-captain in the army, studying engineering, but the nice part about Ethan is that he had multiple parts, unlike Lance, who was, had a little bit of a dimension to him, but not really, not really. So he was in, where he lives in California, he was in a local theater that was doing Equus. Now, I'm not gonna tell you about Equus because it's just a messed up story, but there's nudity in it, right? So, I I was like, "What do you mean there's nudity in it?" And he's like, "Well, we undress and we go out." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Suppose there's children in the audience." He's like, "No, you can't be under 18 and go." I was like, "All right, well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Like, what is going on?" And Daniel Radcliffe actually was in Equus on Broadway when he was 17, and there was some controversy about that because technically he was underage and he was getting naked. He was of consenting age. And if he was emancipated, which I don't know if he was, that just throws all that restriction out of the window. But anyway, you can look that up. And so he said, so I said to him, "Well, what happened when you started taking your clothes off? Were people like hooting and howling and being inappropriate? Were they were they watching? Did like something happen?" He's like, "Well, the brochure says that there's going to be nudity and you can't be under 18 to view this play." And he goes, I I dropped my drawers, I took off my clothes, and there was a lady from the audience that gasped and clutched her pearls, like, "Oh." And, I said, "Well, what did you do?" He goes, "I continued with the play." "What do you mean, what did I do?" So we had a lot of fun together, and, now I was 25 at the time, and I was, about, um maybe 100 pounds, and it's only significant for what I'm about to say. We actually wanted to do nude modeling together, a and we had all of this, like, high hopes, and this wasn't feasible because we didn't live by each other. But we wanted to do this nude modeling, and I felt comfortable for the most part because I was young, and so we try to coordinate that. That really didn't work. And then at another point, we went to a nude beach, in my area, and that was interesting. I wouldn't do it now only because I'm older and fatter, but being, like, young and in shape and everything, it's not as big of a deal, okay? Um, There were a lot of interesting things. I can tell you this, we went for the artsy experience of it all. I'm sure that there were a lot of perverts there. But anyway, so there were people with their genitals pierced and men that were just so should not be naked under any circumstance. And so that was interesting to see and whatnot. And we went there a couple of times. And then we went into the city because he wrote poetry and I wrote poetry. One day maybe I'll get it out. Um, and we were looking for a coffee shop to be like beatnik and do our poetry while, somebody banged bongos in the back, but we couldn't find it. But we did have a good time at the city at New York City that day.